Ta-da! I don't know if that worked. Did it work? I think it worked. Josh, speak.
Hey.
There we go. All right, let me just get the levels a little bit right, and I think we should be sweet. I'm just moving you up a little bit more because I talk a little louder than you do.
Yeah,
That's
man.
no surprise.
Checked it.
Should be good. Should be good. Hello. Should be working. Hi! Hey! I forgot I moved my camera. It's there now. Was above my monitor. Hi everybody, how are we? How's things? Thanks for tuning in. Says I got 2 people watching, so this is great. This is the max that we're gonna get, but you know, it's absolutely sweet. Hello everybody. I'll start again. So today, well, it's you had your homework. I don't know if everyone did their homework. Josh didn't do their homework. Josh didn't do his homework. Terrible. Absolute terrible. Yeah, it is. There it is. Look at that. We didn't even script that. That's not even practiced. We didn't even do any of that. Oh, hang on. Just, I'm gonna just
Did some
1 second.
Some light homework.
Yeah.
Oh, he's doing a thing.
Light homework. Light homework. Hang on.
Ooh.
There was a mirror in the background and should be fixed now. There we go. Yeah, there we go. Beautiful. Hey, hello. We're here again. A little bit different to what we usually do. Firstly, I just wanted to say thanks to everybody who watched my last fortnight's video as well. Thank you so much. Everyone said it was quite interesting. A few different changes, so everyone said it was pretty good. So happy days there. Not doing the usual stuff. It's still going to be a week of Geek, but I said it last fortnight. Homework was we were going to be doing Invincible, and we're doing Invincible. And to continue our Invincible Speaks, I actually have a guest with me, hopefully the first of many. Either that or it's just going to be Josh multiple times. Ladies and gentlemen, I think it's going to be that. Yep. I'm okay with it though. Ladies and gentlemen, I've got Mr. Josh Amorisi. I said your name right. There you go. Yay! There he is. It's not... if you inspect close enough into what's happening there, you can very much see that this is actually just a window that I've stolen from Discord. So you can see in the top right corner that it's actually got the minimize and everything like that. So as you can tell, I'm not a producer. I don't know what I'm doing, but I know what I'm talking about most of the time. If you see someone walking in the background as well, I'm going to quickly put it out there. That's Haley. That's Bree's younger sister. If you can see, she's moving around there. There she is. She's in the chair. There she is. She's doing her maths homework. Yeah, there we go. There it is. Hi. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. She's doing her math homework, and I'm not going to kick her off the computer to do maths homework. So she's going to be around as well. But yeah, welcome everybody. We're talking Invincible. Yeah. Josh has an unfair advantage because Josh has read the comic book. What was the comic book like?
The comic book is quite awesome, actually. It had, I'd say, it's hard to explain because I've read it and you haven't, but I've seen it and you've seen it as well. Because I really love the animation as well, but there's just some things in the comic that are like, I don't know, what icing on the cake. That's just like, oh, that's nice. And I guess it wouldn't go over to the animation as well.
Yeah, but, so like they've had to transition it to be able to work in TV. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I do remember, actually, I know we'll go really into depth. So whoever's here, just as a heads up, we're going to be talking about the whole first season. Super excited. They've said season 2 and season 3 is already on its way. Season 2 is going to be coming in next year, so we don't have to really wait that long, another 6 months. There's 8 episodes total. It's not a lot, but it is a lot. It's only going to be an hour, so, you know, sit tight. It's going to be good. I know that we briefly spoke, the very first scene is the ending scene for episode 1 for the comic book, correct? Like, it just gets straight into it, is what you said to me.
Yeah. Yeah, they just like, straight up, I think Omni-Man, how quickly does he do it? I think that's within the first like few pages, he just destroys everyone. You're like, oh, okay. Or, like first couple comics, yeah, because like it's actually the first comics I've read my entire life was this one, but because they're short comics, I think that's within the first couple that everything just kind of breaks out and he gets his powers and this and that, and then the whole series is not even this whole. So I've got the compendium, right? Which I believe is comics 0 to 47.
Jesus
And
Christ.
season 1 is maybe half of that, if not a bit less. But they've pulled certain parts from later in the compendium and they've moved them forward in the animation, which I think is awesome because it ties in a lot of things that they can just keep throwing back to.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a fun ride either way.
That's really good though. Like hearing that there's so little that they took from the comics means that there's so much more we can look forward to. Like it's not like it's not like a really good trailer where it has all of the best bits and you go see the film and you're like, yeah, I've already seen this. Like there's so much more they can go in depth with. No, that's absolutely sick. Super keen on that one. Well, yeah, super quickly as well. Spoiler alert to anyone who hasn't watched it, anyone who's intending to watch it, go watch it first. I think I'm recording. If not, I'm recording now. I'm recording now. So I'll upload this later onto YouTube, same as I always do. So if you do want to hear our takes on it, but you don't want to get spoiled or anything like that, yeah, just watch it or be like Josh as well, and you can get the compendium. How much was it?
I was like $80 at the comic book store.
80 bucks.
Or I think it's cheaper if you get like a digital version, but I wanted the physical because it's just nice to have.
I gotta agree.
But yeah, there's digital versions out there. There's like limited edition like individual comics you can get, but they're like they're like I think like $30 a pop, and if you know you're getting all what is it? I think 100 and something comics. I'm like, oh boy.
Jesus, yeah. And I imagine there'd be special edition covers and everything like that.
Yeah,
so there's always variants and everything like that. Yeah, no, that's quite intense. No, beautiful. Well, quick introduction to what Invincible is. So the TV series, which is featured on Amazon, is actually based off the comic book. So what Josh is reading is the original source, and this is what has been adapted to TV. It's still pretty damn close, though. From what you've told me, it's pretty damn close. They get a lot of characters right. Some not so right, which we'll talk about more. But yeah, so how many issues did you say the comic has? 100 and...
I think it was 100 and... I'm thinking 127.
That's crazy.
Or something like that. That number keeps popping into my head. Oh, there it is. Invincible. Because, yeah, there's only 3 compendiums, and each is about 144 issues. Yeah.
There you go. Wow.
Close-ish. Yeah.
That's pretty good. And it's only been around for a few years as well. So they've actually jumped into it pretty early to make the TV series, which is awesome.
Which is great.
As a general overview, this series is amazing. It's fantastic. It's R-rated, so you get to see a lot of blood and gore and everything like that. If you're a little bit of a weaker stomach, there's not anything that's too visual, I guess. It's just sort of adding a bit more of a realistic approach, I guess, to what a superhero series could be like. But yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah, all 8 episodes. Let's do this. Let's start. Let's go. I have my notes here. Josh has the original source.
I'll try to remember. It's been a hot minute.
Josh didn't do his homework.
Brush up.
Josh didn't do his homework.
I have essentially the Bible. So we're good. We're good.
He's got the what is it? The D&D handbook. He's got the Saving Grace.
Yep.
So yeah, straight into episode 1. Episode 1 title, It's About Time. Yeah, it's pretty damn good. Like general overview when we go into it, it feels very much like did you ever watch Sky High, Josh?
I did multiple times.
And this feels like Sky High. So yeah, like we're introduced to the 2 like main villains for this episode, basically. The Mauler twins. So these are these big blue hulking behemoths and everything like that. They're like clones of each other, so they don't know which one is the original, which one's not. I really like the banter that's ongoing as well of how they both think that they're the original. I love that.
Yep. If I'm gonna cut in every now and again with like some slight differences in the comic, but if they follow them more, those 2 do some funny stuff to each other, which I think is hilarious because it's the constant who's the original, who's the clone, and then they like keep coming back to that. It's fantastic.
Happy days. No, I love their interactions. Like even later on as well, and like I said, we'll cover the rest of it in the other later episodes. Just their interaction between each other. They're just constantly bickering. They've got the end goal, which is they want to kill the president, but they just bicker and bitch and everything like that. So they've gone to the White House. They're attempting to kill the president and everything. And then the Guardians of the Galaxy. Wait, no, the Justice League. Wait, no, the Avengers. It's a bootleg Marvel Avengers movie. They've got their own Batman called Darkwing. They've got the Immortal, which is basically like the Hulk, I guess. They've got their own Wonder Woman, who's what's her name? Gladiator something?
Yeah. I don't remember their names because they're not in it for so long.
Spoilers. They're not in it for long.
Sorry, spoiler alert.
The Immortal's the most important one because he comes back again later.
So.
But that's we're getting ahead of ourselves. So yeah, we get introduced to the Guardians of the Globe. That's what they're called in this comic book. Which is it's a bootleg ripoff of Justice League. But like, you know, they've got some cool abilities. What is it? Green Ghost, who is basically like Vision, who can like phase through objects and everything like that. That's pretty sick.
War Woman was the Gladiator type one.
That's the one, War Woman, and then there's
Wonder Woman-esque.
Yeah, War Woman, Wonder Woman. They got creative. But yeah, it's pretty cool, like, seeing them and how they interact. And you've got a guy called Red Rush, who's the speedster, and he's basically the Flash, gets everyone out of there and everything like that. And then during the fight and everything, I actually don't have it down here. Omni-Man does turn up. If I'm not mistaken. So, and then you're introduced to the main protagonist for a while. Spoilers. Omni-Man turns up. Omni-Man is like the hero of all heroes. He is the Superman of this story and everything like that. So he comes in, saves them and everything like that. And then the Maulers get sent to jail and everything. They're not important for the rest of the episode. They come back later though, which is really cool. And then you get introduced to Omni-Man's son. So Omni-Man is actually called, his alter ego, is Nolan Grayson. And he has a son called Mark. And Mark is meant to get the same powers as he has, but he's a bit of a late bloomer, I guess. So he finally gets his powers. How'd you feel about that scene where he gets his powers too? That was very lackluster for me.
You know what's funny? And I only realized this when I read the comics because I could go back and then, like, when he gets his powers, right? He's outside the burger joint.
Yep.
Burger Mart. And he throws the rubbish in the air. I don't remember if it's in the animation or not, but later on, there's a scene. It's different in the comics, but there's a scene where there's some people standing there and just a bag of rubbish comes down. I'm like, why was that there? When I watched it, I didn't put two and two together. And I read the animation, and I just remembered about it now. I was like, callback from when he accidentally flung the rubbish into space. Like, it just came back down, yeah.
See, that's brilliant. I don't remember that. That was the first episode, but I don't remember that. That's so good. So yeah, so he ends up getting his powers. It's very lackluster. He's at work. He works in a burger joint, and he's like, "Oh man, this bag is so heavy, this rubbish." And he goes to leap it into the garbage bin. And he just goes, "Whew!" And he just, it's about time. Like, it's like, I've been waiting for this. Yeah.
I suppose that's kind of a good thing though, because we didn't need a whole episode of him getting his powers.
That's true.
Because I feel like even before I knew this series, I was like, oh yeah, it's about him. He gets his powers. Hopefully he just, we jump right into it, it was good, but yes, it could have been like some crazy thing. But I thought the throwback in the comic was hilarious about him getting his powers.
That's so brilliant. I would have loved to if it is in the animated series. I don't remember. I hate that I don't remember it, but that would have been brilliant. I would have loved that. Yeah. That's so good. So yeah, Mark gets his powers. Oh my god, that's so cool. And then he tells Nolan, and then Nolan there's a bit of a flashback of Nolan sitting down telling Mark about who he is. So Mark is Nolan Omni-Man is actually a Viltrumite. So he comes from the planet Viltrum, and he tells Mark that when his people comes of age, they go to other planets in hopes to help. I've actually written down his words is that the Viltrumites go out to use their abilities to help lesser worlds, and that resonates with what's said in the final episode, and we'll come back to this, don't worry. And then so he gets his powers and everything like that. He trains a little bit with his dad, and then he gets a massive punch to the chest, and he's like, you know what, you're not ready for this. This is Mark being told this, and he's like, you're not ready, you don't know what it's going to be like. And then he goes out in his own homemade suit, and he tries to stop a robbery. This is actually where we're introduced to Titan as well. I'll talk about him a lot more in his main featured episode, but Titan's awesome. I love Titan so much. Is he the same in the comic books as well?
Yes, but you don't meet him till later on.
Fair. That's
He's
fair.
similar, but yeah, he get introduced later on, which is again one of those things where he happens later in the comics, but they've pulled him straight into the beginning to give him a bit more of a story. I don't
Yeah.
know if they go into more towards the end of this compendium, but they're definitely giving him more emotions in that in the animation, which is quite interesting because he's a pretty cool character.
That's sick.
Yeah.
So how does is the homemade suit still featured in the comic book then, or like does he take on something else? Does he do something a little bit more low key kind of thing?
He doesn't really. Yeah, he has like a different colored suit. He tries it on, but he doesn't really have the homemade one. Oh no, he does. Sorry, he does. Yeah, he has like one page of it. Yeah.
But
There's a
regardless,
lot.
so he goes out and he's told by his dad, you know, you can't do this and everything like that. And he goes out and he tries to stop a robbery. He does essentially stop it, but it doesn't go well. Like he makes a mess of things whilst doing so. And then he has a very heartfelt moment where he's like, I know I can do this. I know I can. And he's like, you're going to be a good hero. You just need to decide on the hero you want to be and everything like that. So very emotional. And then he's like, if you want to do this stuff, you got to do it right. You're going to have to get a suit. And they go and see Mark Hamill's voice character, which is awesome. I didn't know Mark Hamill was in this. Right? Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So,
oh, wait, is he the suit creator?
Yes, yeah. So Artie, the guy that makes the suits for all the supers, well, not all the supers, but he makes them for Omni-Man and a few others. He's voiced by Mark Hamill. So, good old Luke Skywalker in another series, doing another voice. Why not? He was Fire Lord Ozai, and then he was Joker and Skips, and look at that. Now he's Artie, and he makes the superhero outfits. There you go. And then he finally decides on a name, and I wish that I was good at production so I could make it the title screen right here. So every single time is a running gag. Every single time that he's about to say his name or someone's about to speak about him or his abilities, it comes up with a big title screen. It says Invincible. And I'm sure you know this already as well. As the series progresses, that title screen that comes up, it gets more and more blood splatters along it. And you're just like, oh, there's like some ominous little, oh, what's going on here? It's very, very good. He ends up getting his suit and everything like that. Happy days. He's found out who he wants to be. Woo, invincible. Then we get to the good shit. How would you describe it, Josh?
As in the end of episode 1?
Mm-hmm.
It was good. Compared to the comics, it just happens. I think it was 1 or 2 pages, not double-sided, just like 1, 2.
Really?
It was very brutal in the animation, which I'm glad. Not because like, oh yes, blood and gore, but because like it just felt so visceral and like I remember watching it. I'm like, why the hell is he doing this? What's going on? What's happening? Why is he killing everyone?
Yeah.
That's why I was like, oh, this series is gonna be nuts.
Yeah.
But it was just
I couldn't agree with you,
pretty
man. Great.
Like
the episode itself is good. Like it is interesting enough to keep me wanting to watch more. But that final scene, again, spoilers. You've been fucking warned. At the very end of it, Omni-Man calls all of the Guardians of the Globe to like their secret hideout, which is in the Pentagon. I think it is. It's like in the basement of the Pentagon.
Yeah, something like that. It's where is it?
An undisclosed location. So anyways, yeah, that works. So anyways, Omni-Man calls everyone there, and everyone turns up, and they're like, "Why'd you call me here? Wait, why'd you call me here? No, you called me here. No, you called me here. Wait, so who called us here?" Then Omni-Man goes to take down one of them, and then Red Rush saves them, and then they're like, "Shit, we're under attack." There's like the Immortal is speculating that he must be under some kind of mind control and that. And then all of a sudden it just all hell breaks loose. But that beginning one, so Red Rush is probably the most of a threat because he's so quick. Because if Omni-Man's quick, but he's not as quick. He can take on everyone else really easy, but that's like his main threat at that point. So Red Rush, he's coming in and like Flash, he just gets in, gets a good hit and then runs away and everything. But then he gets too close and then Omni-Man grabs his arm and then grabs his head and then progressively starts to squish his head. His eyeball pops out, blood splurting everywhere. It's so good. But during this as well, Red Rush is still punching him in his chest and you can see like the bruising and everything on his chest. Man, it's so brutal. But he finally squishes his head. And then everyone's like, what the hell is going on? And then everyone starts coming in and starts punching him and everything like that. There's a Martian Manhunter-like character who can stretch, but he's still got his brain, and that's on the front of his chest. He rips his brain apart. That warrior woman, he gets her mace and then just clean sweeps the fish dude. And then he does a full-on, this was probably my favorite one. So the guy that's basically a bootleg Batman starts throwing his batarangs at him. And then he drops down trying to get the surprise on him. Omni-Man just grabs him and goes full, like, Loki getting bashed up by Incredible Hulk. And literally his head just goes splat. Just straight into the ground. There's just blood everywhere. And then he's just like, oh, I'm done with this. Throws the body to one of the other heroes who can phase through solid objects, and she becomes physical to catch the body. And she looks forward, she goes, oh no. And then just straight up, just fist through her head. It's absolutely brilliant.
I love
So
your notes.
good.
I've got it playing at the moment. I'm like, yeah, that's spot on.
It's
That's
spot on, yeah. It's so good. It's so good.
So it's interesting too because you've just described all that, right? And this is all it is in the comics.
It's just 2
that.
pages.
And it's not. You don't even know what's happening. It's just like.
That's upsetting.
Yeah, that's it. And I'm like, the animation did it like very good justice. I don't know if you can see that very well.
Yeah.
But that's
You
all
can see
it
the
is.
immortal and everything. Yeah. No, that's.
But yeah.
But still,
that's it.
2
And then-
pages, and that's the
it.
ending scene there. That's what got me hooked. That's when I was like, yeah, I will watch all of this.
Yep. And then like the
So
last page
good.
is just him standing over them bloody. I'm like, that's really cool. But the animation definitely did it way more justice.
So much
Because
better.
it just felt so good.
So good. And then, of course, he kills everybody off one by one. He's just taking them all out. Bomb, 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 bomb. And then the final person is the Immortal, who's actually a really in-depth character. I hope we get to see more of him later.
Yeah.
He basically punches through the Immortal's chest, and the Immortal drops to the ground. He's like, why? Why have you done all of this? Nolan, completely silent, just cocks his arm up and just decapitates him. And his head just blah, 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 on the ground. It was so good. It was absolutely brilliant. And yeah, that's where they leave it. And then Omni-Man just passes out. He just falls to the ground. And everyone's like, what? You can't just leave that there. And then black screen, done, finished. And you're like, great, now I'm waiting another fucking week for this.
Which I kind of like. I don't get why he passed out because he's supposed to be like, you know, essentially Superman. I don't know if he's as strong or if he's slightly weaker, but yeah, I'm not really confused as to like why he passed out.
Does he take a while to recuperate in the comics as well? Because he takes a full episode. Well, it's not until the end of next episode that he comes back.
He doesn't even. He's just standing over them.
And he's just ready to go.
He's just standing over them at the end, and then I think it's the next comic. Yeah.
Far out. Brutal.
Because yeah, it's hard to find things in the comic because it's like, everything like.
This is why
so
you do your homework.
Crazy.
There you go.
Hey. True.
That's right. You're a guest. You can do whatever you want. It's all good.
Yeah.
It's my podcast. It's my.
Oh yeah, Mark Hamill. I don't know how I didn't realize Mark Hamill.
Yeah, right. It's Mark Hamill.
In the credits, like the first thing, guest starring.
Mark Hamill, right there. So it should be. If anyone doesn't know, he's in Star Wars. And once again, you don't like Star Wars? Fuck off. Thank you very much.
If you don't know, what are you doing here?
That's going to be my running joke. I found my running joke now, guys. You don't like Star Wars? Fuck off. There you go. That's it. Done. But yeah, that's end of episode 1. That's where they leave it. Death of the Guardians of the Globe. Omni-Man passes out, drops to the ground. That's it. So yeah, so episode 2, we go into... you're introduced to the Global Defense Agency, which is basically S.H.I.E.L.D. Am I right?
GDA. Yeah, you're not wrong.
The GDA, Global Defense Agency. GDA, we'll reference them from now on. They're basically S.H.I.E.L.D. They've got a director, Cecil, I can't remember. I've written it down, I just can't remember how it's pronounced. So you're introduced to them. So they go into like the headquarters of the Guardians of the Globe, and they see them all dead and everything like that, and they're like, oh my god, we got to try and salvage whatever we can. So they're going around, they're trying to see if anyone is still alive, and they see Omni-Man still alive as well, and they're like, oh shit, like if they could have put Omni-Man down, like holy shit, whoever attacked them, you know, would have been hella strong. And then I watched it again just before the stream as well, and there's a really cool part. So with the Immortal, the only way, from what I can tell, to keep him down is to cut his head off. So they actually like salvage the head, and they kind of, what would you say? They kind of like contain it.
They kind of like, Yeah, kind of like stitching it together, sort of like keeping it whole, I guess.
The closest thing I could really reference it to is
Yeah,
it's
they
kind
put
of
a
like the
collar on it.
heads in Futurama. Like it's kind of just like it's gonna keep it intact, and then they're gonna try and bring him back later. So yeah, so like they come in and everything like that, and they're like, holy shit, like what's going on? Who's done all of this? Speculation begins very early on, like why is Omni-Man the only one that's still alive? That's a little bit. How do you do? But that's a pretty quick scene, and then you've got Mark finds out about it and everything like that. Everyone finds out that there was an attack on the Guardians of the Globe, and like while everyone's trying to figure out, holy shit, what happens now if the Guardians are gone? Who's going to protect us? There's actually perfect timing, an alien invasion. Who would have guessed it? I believe the aliens are called the Flaxons. Are they the same in the comics?
Yeah, pretty much the same in the comics.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're not too flashy. They're interdimensional aliens. So they've jumped from their dimension to Earth to be able to conquer them. But they actually age more rapidly in their dimension, as compared to Earth. So when they get to Earth, like they're fighting for a while, and we're introduced to the teen team, which I'll talk about in a second. But they actually they age quite rapidly, so they can't stay there for very long, so they got to disappear. They come back a couple more times. But yeah, so we're introduced to the teen team, the Teen Titans, as I like to call them, because let's be honest, that's basically what they are. So you've got Robot, which he comes into play a lot later. Bit of spoilers there, something to look forward to.
I wouldn't believe that he's a robot.
Robot is a robot, or so we think. And then we've got Duplicate. She's not too bad. She can replicate herself. She can make like temporary clones, but like.
Would you say she would make duplicates of herself?
Oh my god, how does he do it? That's actually, I was gonna bring that up. So I'll say the other two names of the team here. So it's Duplicate. Yeah, you'll see a theme coming here. Rexplode. Rexplode is pretty much like Gambit, so you can put like energy into like tiny things like coins and stuff, and then it explodes and everything like that. And then Atom Eve. All of those heroes, their real names are Eve, Rex, and Kate. They didn't really. It's not like Superman and Clark Kent. Like they didn't really. Yeah, Omni-Man and Nolan are
It's a weird thing, but I like it. I think it's funny.
I think it goes to show like their age. Like you had the Guardians of the Globe, and like they were completely different. They were the best of the best, and then you've got these ones here who are just like, we have no idea what we're doing. You explode things, and your name's Rex. Whoa, this is brilliant. How's no one thought of this? Like, holy shit. But yeah, so Rexplode, very much like Gambit. He's pretty cool. And then you got Atom Eve. Now, Atom Eve, she confuses me. Now, what are her abilities in the comics?
Basically the same thing. She can, manipulate atoms to create things. But it's not, I don't think she creates them from new atoms. She has to
It's more of a conversion thing.
If that makes sense?
Yeah. Because you can't create matter, you can only convert it, theoretically. Because at first, so the Flaxons come in, there's no Guardians of the Globe to be able to stop them, so Invincible goes in to try and save them. He fucks up, he tries to save this old woman, and in doing so, because he doesn't take any hits, but he tumbles into this pit, and she's her bones are everywhere, and she's bleeding and shit like that. And that's when the teen team come in, the Teen Titans. They come in and they start saving the day and everything. When you start to see Atom Eve's abilities, it just looks like she can do constructs, like energy constructs, because she does shields, and then she does force fields and stuff like that. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, cool, so that's her abilities. But then later in the series, she can make crops grow, and she can stop famine, and she creates a whole house. She creates a whole treehouse thing that she lives in, and it's like, huh? What's the extent? Very confusing there. But anyways, the Flaxons invade, and then they age rapidly, and they have to run back to their own dimension and that. They come back a second time, and what they've done is they've created these bracelets to be able to stay in time, so they're not aging rapidly. And then Robot figures that one out. So Robot is a very ominous character. You don't know what his deal is. He's just, as far as you're concerned, he is a literal robot. He's an AI, artificial intelligence. He figures out that these wristbands keep them alive, and so he's like, you gotta destroy the wristbands. So they destroy all the wristbands, and they're like, oh, we got nowhere to go. And they run away. And then during all of this, you're introduced to such a cool character. He got through out of there way too quickly. Darkblood, the demon detective. Such a cool character.
He's an interesting character that
he's so
I hope
cool.
they do more in the series, but I don't know.
He's so cool. He's basically a demon version of Sherlock Holmes. And what's his character? He's basically he came to Earth to try and solve cases, to try and bring justice to those who were wronged. And each soul he saves is less time that he has to have in hell.
Has to like spending hell, or something like that.
Kind of thing. But he's a demon. He's from hell, so I don't know how long he thinks he can stay on.
Yeah, that's where I was like, ooh, give us an origin story of him, kind of just a little bit.
Give me a bit more on him.
Because it's like a subpar Hellboy, but I don't know.
So you're introduced to Darkblood, who's really cool. So he's actually where the headquarters of the Guardians of the Globe was, and he's investigating because he's just like, something doesn't add up. Like, the strongest man alive is in a coma because and everyone else is dead. Like, that's just a little bit too fishy. So he's investigating there, and Cecil sees him in that, and he has a bit of an interaction there, and he basically tells him to just leave it be. Cecil's got it under control, but Darkblood's like, you don't know, you're human, fuck you, man, I'm out. And he like disappears, which is he's a very interesting character. I'm looking forward to seeing more of him. I hope I see more of him.
I'm trying to think. I don't think he pops up that much in the comics, and I think they've elaborated more in the animation. But he's definitely a very cool character.
I really enjoy his character. He's so cool.
Also, on that episode, how I was saying in episode 1, he throws the garbage out into space. I just realized at the beginning of episode 2, I believe it's the security guard from episode 1 that's standing in front of the White House who gets his arm broken. They're standing in front of the Queen's palace.
Oh my god, he's with his son!
And he's with his son. All of a sudden, something comes down from space or from the air. And you're like, what the hell was that? And then it's the Burger Mart garbage bag. I'm like, that is. So
this is what happens when you release episodes weeks apart. This is what happens.
Yeah.
I completely forgot about that scene.
I didn't realize that either. I thought I'd quickly check now because I loved it in the comics.
That's brilliant. That warms my heart. I'm actually upset that we missed that, but I'm glad that we found it. That's so good. So introduced to Darkblood. It's so cool. Demon detective. The aliens, the Flaxons, they come back for a third time, and they like create suits that can actually resist. They've advanced their genetic makeup so that way they are resistant completely to the rapid aging and everything like that. But because they're like decimating, like the team is like shit and everything like that. Invincible's down, blah blah blah. Thankfully, Nolan, Omni-Man, has recovered within that time, and he turns up and he's just like, nah, we're not dealing with this. We're finishing this off. And he just wrecks everybody's shit. And then the main, like, emperor of the Flaxons is still there fighting him. And then Nolan, like, just flies straight into him, back into the dimensional vortex. And you're like, oh, shit, he's lost. No, he's committing genocide. That's what he's doing. So he flies into he crosses dimensions. He goes to their planet and everything like that. And he's just like, yeah, don't come to Earth again because you're going to regret it. But just in case you're thinking about going to Earth, all of a sudden, he is just flying straight through everything, and the man, of course, is invincible. So he's just blowing shit up and complete genocide across the planet. And, of course, they age a little bit more quickly there. So, like, it kind of does, like, a quick jump. It's not far, I would imagine. And he's got, like, a bit of a beard and everything like that. Sorry, yeah, go on.
Before you continue, I just realized one of the quotes he says while he's destroying the Flaxon's planet is, "Earth isn't yours to conquer." I never realized that until now. Like, so there are subtle hints about things going through now. So that's something, I guess, during season 2 to be on like the lookout of connections of things that people say and whatnot. Oh, that's That's really clever. I didn't realize that they were doing stuff like that.
That's why I really like series like this, where you can watch it a second time and you can pick up on certain things. And like at the first time, you're like, Earth isn't yours to conquer. It's like, oh yeah, he's a protector of Earth. Hang on, hang on a moment. Switch his lanes. So anyways, yeah, he's like grown a bit of a beard and everything like that. And you can see they've like zoomed in and focused in on two of the Flaxons, and they're clearly trying to make a portal to Earth again. And then you see Omni-Man's just hovering over them with this massive what is it? It was like a meteorite. It was
or the part of the space station or something.
Yeah, he's holding like this massive structure just on a hand, and he's like, "Hurry up, make my dimension, otherwise I'll kill you." Then they make the portal, and then he like throws up the rock, and it goes to the portal, and it just squishes the shit out of them. And you're like, holy crap.
So brutal.
Like, you either want to be his friend, or you want to run. But even the Guardians were his friends, and you still don't know what happened there. It's just freaking crazy. So this all happens and everything, and like a very small little thing. It doesn't make much sense now, but you're also introduced to Alan the Alien, voiced by Seth Rogen.
I love Alan.
Alan the Alien, he's so good. So he's so basically Omni-Man's like I'm healing still. I'm not ready to do anything. Blah blah blah. And there's this alien approaching Earth, and Cecil from the GDA is like, hey, we need someone to go up and fight him. And Omni-Man's just like, just give him a few punches and then send him on his way. And Invincible's very confused. He's like, what the hell's going on? It turns out that he's an alien from the Coalition of Planets, where it's basically they sign up to be tested by this extraterrestrial being, and if they can beat him, then they're safe and they can stay a part of the coalition. If not, it's just like, you're too weak, piss off. Invincible is told nothing of this. And he just starts fighting Alan in space. And then he's like, I don't even know who you are. And he's like, wait, can we just stop and talk? And then Alan is just like, wait, so you want to use your timeout? Like, you want to do that? He's like, I get a timeout. What's going on here? And so they sit down, and then Alan explains everything. And then he's like, oh yeah, so, I'll tick Urath off my list. And Invincible's like, what? And the whole reason he's there is because he thought that the planet was called Urath, not Earth. And he's like, that's my mistake, my bad. And it's just like, oh, that Alan the Alien. Oh. But that comes back in later again. That's the best part about this series. There's tiny little things, like Josh was just saying. There's so many tiny things where you're just like, oh, why am I paying attention to that? Then at the end of it, you're like, oh, shit, things are happening. It's big.
Yep. I hope, because there's a cool in-between, like one of the comics later on, which I won't talk about because of spoilers, but they do like what's happening with Alan? And you're like, oh yes, this is just beautiful. And you kind of find out some tidbits about him. And I hope in like the next lot of comics after this, once he's in it more, because he's a pretty interesting character, and the way his species works, I don't think they talk about it in the animation. It's very interesting and weird, and it's got something to do with the Viltrumites as well. So it's very cool, but he's such a cool character.
That would be so cool. Just have an Alan the Alien episode, like have like a side story, like the adventures of Alan the Alien.
Because it's like something happens during this story that's relevant to the time now.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, that's really cool. I thought this was like a filler. No, it's like one of those good fillers that give you key informations about characters you just love.
So what you're saying is the planet Namek isn't going to be destroyed in 5 minutes. There's actually key information. Oh, that's so good.
It's really good.
Oh man. Any other points on episode 2? Because I think that pretty much covers the basis of it.
Not really. Like I'm just kind of scrolling through it as you're talking about it as well, and I forgot that like stuff that's happening in episode 2 doesn't happen until like comic 17, and it's because it's so like not overlapping but like crisscross. I don't know, it's just jarring to remember, is this in the comic or is this the animation? So but I honestly think the pacing of the animation, they've done it fantastically. They're not missing things, they're pulling things like from later, but they're bringing it forward. They might not bring all of the information forward. It's just tidbits, so they'll hit on it maybe later. It's just really great.
There was one thing, so one of the cool things about watching it on Amazon Prime is that if you pause it, or if you like open up like the screen menu, it tells you the voice actors, but it also tells you like little fun facts and everything. So in another episode, I believe it's the next episode. Yes, it is. So in the next episode, they have to basically recruit a new Guardians of the Globe, and about 3 or 4, I think I read, the people that are trying to get into the Guardians of the Globe, they're characters made for the TV series, so they weren't actually introduced in the comic book. And there's another one as well. Shrinking Ray is actually changed to a female character from a male character in the comic books. Is that correct?
I think so. I didn't catch on that.
There you go.
Maybe?
Fun facts with Jake. Here he is. He has the Bible.
That's because I didn't do my homework.
That's the rule, kids. That's the lesson.
I haven't read this in a couple of weeks, so I'm sort of forgetting things.
Oh, that's
because I don't think they do the recruiting for that until like a while. But yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, there's a little tidbit. There you go. Watch it on Amazon, kids. Or it's the only place you can watch it. Super quickly as well, just going into the comments before we jump on to episode 3. Bears is around. I don't know if he is still around. He made a few comments. Hello, Bears. Thanks for popping in. And thanks for the support as well. Bears was throwing out that I was doing my stream today. Mucho appreciado. And then Evie Trainer, don't leave that comfort zone. I don't know what you're referencing. If you're still around, if you could chuck a comment in to say what you're referencing, that would be great. I will quickly put forward to you, Mr. Marici. It's already been about 45 minutes. Did we want to do half? Did we want to do half the season today, and then maybe next week we can tackle the rest?
And maybe I'll like rewatch it and then give you.
And you can do some homework. I think. Exactly.
If you want to, that's your call, man.
Yeah,
it's up to you.
I mean,
do half.
We'll see what the people want. I feel like half will be sweet because
there's
so much. There's so much to cover. We still got 2 more episodes. 2 more episodes, and then that's half. That's fine. We can do half now. The other half you're gonna have to wait a week, and that's what we went through. Because we'll make you wait because he made us wait. Damn Robert Kirkman. Well, it was probably the guy from Amazon who's a multi-billionaire and looks like Lex Luthor. So, it's
you're not wrong.
He makes his own decision. Evie, with a comment, is back. You were talking about the genius names they use. Yes! That's very true. Yeah, they couldn't, Adam, Eve, just to chuck it in there. And it was actually really funny. So, of course, Mark Invincible figures out that Adam Eve is actually Eve from a school that he goes to, and he's like, I don't know how I've never noticed it. It feels very much like it's a Clark Kent wearing glasses to distract you from not being Superman. It's so simple, but I guess common sense. It's so rare. It's a superpower. It's ridiculous. But hey, it's a good series, so I'm gonna knock it, but I've never made a series like that, so I'm a dickhead to myself. Going forward, episode 3, we'll make it a half. Alright guys, we're gonna cover 1 to 4 today, and then next week we're gonna cover the rest of it, because 2 hours is too much to cover everything like that. Episode 3, Who You Calling Ugly? This one is pretty interesting. There's a lot of build-up in this one. I find there was a lot of build-up. So we go into the episode. It's the funeral for the Guardians of the Globe. So everyone knows that the Guardians of the Globe has been killed. They don't know how, they don't know why, but everyone's pretty scared for it. So the funeral happens and everything like that. Omni-Man actually says like a big speech where he's like, they were very close to me and I helped them on multiple occasions. The world's not going to be the same without them. Spoiler, he killed them. So like that all happens. I said spoiler warning at the start. It's your own fault. So that all happens and everything like that, and then you go back to Omni-Man's house and Mark is like, he's pretty beaten up. Like he doesn't know what's going on. And then he remembers, so in a previous episode, I believe it's in episode 1, before he had his powers, he was trying to help out one of his friends, Amber, because a guy was trying to make moves on her and stuff like that. And he walked up, he's like, no, get off her. She doesn't want to talk to you. Then he gets kicked in the nuts. No, sorry, he gets punched in the face. No, he gets punched in the face, yes. And then Amber's like, why would you do that? And then kicks the bully in the nuts. And then it's like, oh yeah, you're too weak. Yeah, gotta be saved by a girl. Bullshit. And all that stuff. And she's actually kind of interested in Mark. Slips the number into the locker. And then he finally gets the courage after a funeral. Because that's the first thing I would think of. Funeral happens. Oh, I'm gonna call a girl that likes me. So sits down, calls her and everything like that. That's pretty much the introduction to their relationship. I think now is the time. Josh, what's your thoughts on Amber?
I kind of liked her more in the comics than in the animation.
Fair.
Purely on personality.
Mm-hmm.
She's kind of like ditzy and oblivious to like certain things in the comic, and you're like, how does she not realize that Mark is a superhero? Whereas in the animation, obviously, Amber knew all along. And they do a few funny things in the comics with her. But in saying that, it's still pretty good in the animation. She's still like a good character that's around in that. But I'm kind of curious to see what happens going forward. Because of how different.
Yeah. I agree. I'm curious to see where they go with it. My issue is that she's just an annoying character. I think that's because you're watching the show from the perspective of Mark, and Mark has no idea what he's doing in terms of balance between personal life and superhero life. So you've got that conflict, which is why I always liked Spider-Man back in the day and still do now, because he still tries to live his ordinary life, but he's not ordinary. He's fucking Spider-Man. Again, I'm interested to see where her character goes. She does have depth. She does have, she's an interesting character. She's not just there for love interest. She is an actual character. But just to me, she's just a little bit frustrating. It's like, oh, why can't you just why can't you just help out Mark? Like, he's
like obnoxious type of like,
yeah.
But I just remembered a key thing, because in the comics, she's like, why is he always late? Why is he never here? This, that. And then I think she's talking to a friend, and they're like, oh, yeah, one of my friends or something like that, it was like a drug deal, and I didn't realize. Like, oh, maybe Mark's doing drugs or something. And then they have this funny conversation about that. And she's like, surely not that. And then she confronts him. And when she finds out, she's like, oh, thank God, I thought you were doing drugs or something. And it was a funny moment. And I'm like, oh, in this, she's just kind of like, oh, yeah, you're a superhero. I'm like, oh.
Yeah,
okay.
That would have been interesting. Like,
cool.
She would have actually had a bit more of a build-up. Because, again, later episode, it turns out she actually knew the whole time. She figured it out pretty early on. But she never tells him because that wasn't important to her. But it's never, like, she's always like, but where are you going? Like, she never had to put two and two together. She just kind of always knew, but she just put up with it, kind of thing. That's what was like frustrating about that character. There just wasn't enough, like, oh yeah, she figured it out, blah, blah, blah. I was just like, it is what it is. So. And
it felt a little, like, disingenuous. I'm like, I would have liked it if, like, we knew that she knew straight away, and then she confronted him, and then there was some weird thing. Because I feel like that, because then she just plays around, like, she knows, and then he's never turning up, he's late, he's this and that, and she still gets annoyed. I'm like, well, I don't know. You know why. So why are you still getting annoyed? I don't know. It's just,
They could have played it a little bit more like going back to Spider-Man, how in Far From Home, when MJ's like, you're totally Spider-Man. He's like, no, I'm not. And then it goes the whole, wow, I honestly thought you were Spider-Man. That's crazy. And then he turns around and goes, yeah, I'm Spider-Man. Like, just that bit of interaction would have added a little bit more to a character, being like, oh, well, if you're not doing that, then why are you sneaking around? Like, it would have explained why she was so angry. And then she could turn around and be like, well, you lied to me. And then he could be like, yeah, but it was for your own safety and blah, blah, blah. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of her. I'll leave it at that. There we go.
Me too. I hope maybe they'll do something to progress her character a bit further, rather than just being like a typical high school student.
Yeah, me too.
But we'll see, because it doesn't happen in this episode, so I won't mention it.
No jumping forward.
Yeah. That's why I'm just double checking. I'm like, okay, cool.
We got to make him wait a week. I'm not giving any spoilers. I'm going to drop a cliffhanger. That's what I'm going to do. No, none of that. So he calls Amber. That's the start of their relationship and everything like that. And then Adam Eve returns back to the Guardians of the Globe, because they're they return back to the teen team hangout. And she's like, oh yeah, the funeral was pretty bad, and she's talking to Duplicate, and Duplicate's acting really weird. She's just come out of the shower. She's just like, what's going on? Is Rex here? What's happening? She's like, and Duplicate's like, you weren't supposed to come back yet. Anyway, she goes into the shower, and Rex is Rex having a threesome? Like,
I want to assume that's what's happening.
Is that the,
if not, that's a waste of animation.
is that the clarification? So she walks into the shower, and Duplicate has duplicated herself like 3-4 times, and then like they're all fooling around in the shower. And then she's like, what the hell, so Rex Blode and Adam Eve have been a couple for quite some time, and Rex's excuse is like, but you're always talking to that invincible kid and blah blah blah, and Duplicate's like, he told me that you guys weren't dating anymore, so I thought it would be cool, this, that, and the other. So it's not a very big crucial thing, but it's important to Adam Eve's character. That's why I bring that up. But it was just funny. Like, she walks out and she's holding the towel and she kind of like goes, and she's like, what was that? She's like, it was hiccups. That's all it was. And then all of a sudden Rex walks out and there's like 3 more Duplicates, and she's just like,
as soon as I see Kay, I'm like, there's multiple of them, isn't it? And
yeah.
Sure enough,
And there was.
multiple. I'm like, oh boy.
There was. It was so funny. So that ends up happening as like a little funny tidbit, but mainly to Eve's character, and that continues on to later episodes. But then we also have, Robot is recruited by Cecil, who's the director of the GDA, to recruit new Guardians of the Globe. He needs to build a new team, basically, because he sees how efficient he is when taking on the Flaxons in the previous episode, and he's like, I want you to build a new group and everything like that. So he does trials, if you will. There's a few other like pretty cool characters that come into it, and Invincible is there just as a he gives constructive criticism. He's not there to join the team because he doesn't know if he wants to go solo, if he wants to help. He's still learning his abilities from his father because he doesn't know exactly what he can do yet. So he's like, I'm not ready, but I'll come and I'll supervise, basically, is what he does. There's a couple of cool like little fight scenes in that, and like I said, there is some new characters made for the animated series that weren't in the comic book, which is pretty cool. But then you get to the end of it, and you basically Black Samson, who's really interesting. I'm so excited to learn more about him. From what we learned in the animated series, Black Samson was in the Guardians of the Globe, but actually lost his powers, and now he's built like this mech suit that can like shoot energy blasts, and that's what he uses to get back into the Guardians of the Globe, which it's pretty interesting, like his character. He gets him back at the end of the series after like this big fight scene, and he kind of like has like a born again moment kind of thing, which is pretty cool. Yeah. Shrinking Ray, basically like the Atom, is able to shrink. Can she grow? I can't remember.
Ant-Man, basically.
Yeah, it's Ant-Man.
Without the suit, because it's their actual ability, I think. Like,
yes, that's her actual ability. Yeah.
I don't think she can grow. I'm pretty sure it's just small.
I don't recall seeing her grow. I remember it was a lot of shrinking, and I was like, it's Ant-Man. There you go.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
It's bootleg Ant-Man. There you go. And then the last one, which is probably the most interesting one, which we'll definitely go into more detail in the later episode. Monster Girl. She's really cool.
She's cool, yeah.
She's really cool. So she's 24, 25, but she has this ability to actually take on like this monster form. But as a drawback, every time she uses it, she loses like a week of her life. So she's actually growing younger each time that she turns into the monster. She has the appearance of like a 12-year-old girl, but she's actually like 25, 26, and there's this really cool moment where like she's inducted into the Guardians of the Globe by a robot, and then Rex is like, oh, isn't there a height requirement? And she basically is like, isn't there a dick requirement, saying that he's got a tiny dick and everything, and he takes it to a fence. But then she turns into the monster and then beats the living crap out of him. And then it actually made me laugh again rewatching it. So Invincible steps in, he's like, yo, stop, we're supposed to be a team, and punches Monster Girl, and then she turns back into a little girl. And all the like other people that tried to get into the group is like, oh my god, I can't believe Invincible punched a girl. And he's like, in fear, he's like, oh god, what have I done? Like, he's so afraid that he's punched a girl. But it's like, no, you're a monster. It makes sense. So that all happens and everything. And then, of course, so all of the teen team, so Adam, Eve, and everything, as well as these new recruits, join the Guardians of the Globe. But Eve goes up and talks to Robot and is like, I can't be a part of the team because of what she has just learnt has happened with Rex. So she flies off and everything. And then Invincible's like, I'll try and talk to her. And they're flying off and they're having a bit of a talk and a bit of a moment. And then all of a sudden, Cecil calls, and Cecil is like, you need to stop this guy. He's at Mount Rushmore. And you turn up to Mount Rushmore, and what was his name? Dr. Seismic.
Yeah.
He was actually pretty cool. So he's got what's called his own invention, earthquake gauntlets. So you can, like, tap them together and then do, like earthquake shockwaves. So that way he can, like, do earthquakes and blah blah blah. That's not the other. They're really cool. They're really really cool. So they end up fighting with Invincible and Adam Eve, and then they end up beating him, and they save a little family. It's very sweet and everything like that. But spoilers, he comes back. Ah! Later we talk about he turns up in the comics, of course, and he's the main villain later.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, basically.
Yes. He was cool. I liked him. He was a really cool character.
Cool.
He's really, really sick.
I remember, so in this episode, they beat him and he just falls down the giant crevasse.
That's right, yes. So he makes a massive crevasse, and then, like, lava spurts out of it, and then he ends up, I think, Invincible throws a rock at his gauntlet, and it becomes, like, faulty, and it kind of sends him down the crevasse, and then Invincible tries to save him, and then he falls into... he sends a shockwave into the lava, and it splurts up, and then he gets dropped into there, and we think that he died, and so does Invincible. Invincible's like, oh, yeah, well, he's dead, but everything else is safe, so everything is fine.
TBD.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. We won't be talking about what he's going to do in a week, because we're still waiting ourselves. Well, not Josh, he's read the fucking comics. The ultimate spoiler. So that all happens, which is like a little tidbit to see what's going to be coming later. He looks really cool. He's got, like, like magma minions from what I saw. Oh, it looks beast. So that happens and everything. And then we kind of just cut straight to, like, this massive, like, containment unit, or like a jail, and the Mauler twins from the first episode are being put into in a jail cell, and, like, this guy's coming around with the meals and everything like that, and as he goes to give a meal to one of the Mauler twins, the door actually stays open instead of the doors shifting to get the meal. And then he reaches out and, like, grabs him, like, knocks him out, uses his arm to get out and everything like that. And then, like, as they're running out, so he opens the cell for the other twin, and they're both trying to get out of there. And they realize that there must be someone that's watching them and helping them, because doors start to open. And they're like, oh, there's, we've got a guardian angel. And they get out and everything like that. And then there's this security drone. This is a really cool scene as well. A security drone comes up, and they're still fighting on who's the original and everything. And they see the drone, and they're like, shit, well, what do we do now? And one of them turns and is just like, well, you're the original, so you should know what's about to happen. So he walks over, and one of the Mauler twins picks up the other one and puts him in front and acts like a human shield. And he's running towards this drone, and literally his limbs are being sliced from these energy blasts and shit. And there's blood and guts, everything going everywhere. It's really cool. And then he finally gets close enough, and he destroys the drone and everything like that. And then he's like, all right, well, I got to make another one. So he, like, runs away to find his cloning technology and that. And you're like, oh, who's been helping him and everything like that? And it was in a dark room and that. And there's no lights on or anything like that. You can just see, like, some ambient light. Then all of a sudden this door opens and Cecil walks in. And then the light turns on and you see Robot. And he's like, so how's the new Guardians coming along? And he's like, oh, yeah, still working on it, but getting there.
We're getting there.
We're getting there. We'll make a new Guardians of the Globe. And, it was Robot the whole time. And you're like, oh, why does he want to help the Mauler twin? Is he secretly evil? Is he plotting to take over the world?
That's just it, right? I genuinely thought, oh, he's got some other alter ego to try and also kill, like, superheroes. And then, lo and behold, other stuff happens. I'm like, oh, really cool how they set this up really nicely.
They make it go a lot of different ways. Like, you'll watch the series, And you'll be thinking, oh, it's got to be this. Like, I'm thinking it's got to be this and blah, blah, blah. Like, I knew there was something up with Omni-Man, but to the extent of what actually happens is actually pretty crazy. But yeah, there's a lot of cliffhangers. It's really, really cool. Going into the final... so this is a cliffhanger of this episode as well. So basically, Debbie, who's Nolan's wife, human wife, who, mother of Mark, she's at home and everything, and she's just tidying up, or she was on a computer, laptop, or something like that. I can't really remember. But anyways, it starts to get really cold, and as she's breathing, it's starting to do like steam, and that's like a telltale sign that dark blood is there. That's interesting. Did they explain what that is? Yeah.
Not from memory, no. Because it doesn't... I'm trying to remember, because I don't remember him a lot in the comics, because I don't think he appears, at least this early, that much in the comics, because how they find out who did it is different in the comics to how they do it in the animation.
Okay.
It's a lot quicker to a certain... Like, it's hard to explain without specifically telling you what they say, but from memory, it's a lot quicker and a lot more, like, less detective work, and then, like, they figure it out, kind of.
Yeah, it's kind of just, it's right in front of them, and they just have to look in the right spot.
Basically, yeah. The animation definitely, like, not dwelled on it, but elaborated more with, we don't know what's happening, why is it happening, oh my god, how did they all die, like, who was it, kind of thing. I'm like, that's a pretty good way to do it.
Nice. That's interesting, actually, because, of course, once we get to the end of this season, we, like, tell how I found out everything happened and everything compared to how the comics and everything says it. That'd be very interesting. So Debbie is visited by Darkblood, the demon detective, and she's like, "What are you doing here? Who are you? Blah blah blah." And he basically does the whole, like, your husband's the only one to survive, and everyone else in the Guardians are dead. Like, that's not right. So he's like kind of trying to search for clues and everything like that, and he's basically implanting in her head, like, something's not right here. And she starts thinking about it, and she's like, starting to get suspicious, like, hang on, why is he alive? He hasn't really talked about it that much, and blah, 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 blah. And then I think he just disappears again, and then the lights turn on because she was in a dark room, and Nolan's there. And then she's like, oh, just, getting a glass of wine and going to bed, blah, blah, blah. And she plays it off. But, like, as she walks out of the room, Nolan breathes out, and he gets the steam, and he knows straight away. He's like, he doesn't say anything, but you can see his face, like, his expression changes. He's a lot more, he's, like, more coarse, more angry, and he's like, fucking Darkblood's back. Like, can't keep his nose out of it, kind of thing. But yeah, so we're still trying to figure out who was it that killed the Guardians? Like, why is Omni-Man still alive? Was it Omni-Man? Was he under someone's control? But then also, we've got a new cliffhanger, another running thing where it's, who is Robot? Why is he letting the Waller twins out? Yeah. Exactly right, and we don't know where it's going to go. A week later, episode 4, super quick, I'm just going to jump to the comments. Evie Trainer again, she just made fun of my name, which Jedi Jake was 12-year-old Jake coming up with that name, so sue me. Took a page from their book. I did. Hey, it works. Don't knock it. Evie Trainer. Yeah, that's right. I went there. Fine. Boom. So yeah, we go to episode 4. I'm not sure whereabouts that is in the comics, but this one, episode title, Neil Armstrong, Eat Your Heart Out. This one's actually a pretty interesting episode. I liked this one. This one's pretty cool. This one's pretty sick. So this one, I actually watched it. It's kind of like a cold intro, kind of like Brooklyn Nine-Nine. So like you're in Egypt, and these people have been digging out this like sarcophagus and stuff like that. And this guy walks in, he's like, "My master, I will resurrect you." Then he opens up the sarcophagus, and then he like gets taken over by this mummy, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, oh shit, oh he's resurrecting this guy." I can't remember the name. And then all of a sudden he's like green and glowy, and is like walking to the door, and then the camera sort of pans up, and you can see like the massive gravestone that was covering the tomb, and it's hanging by like just a bit of rope on like an earth mover.
Yeah.
And then it cuts back down, and he's about to get out of it, and then you hear twink, and then the thing just falls in front of it, and then you start tracking off in the distance. You see Invincible and Omni-Man, and they're just like, "Yep, another day." Yeah. Like, they build it up, man. It goes for like a solid 5 minutes, and you're like, "Oh my god, this is the next villain. This is so cool." And then all of a sudden, it's just like, "Oh well, we're off." You know, gotta be home for dinner. Debbie's waiting for me to bring dinner home from Italy or some bullshit. So yeah, that comes in, which is pretty funny. I did like that one as well. Mark is still training with Nolan. He's still learning about his powers and everything like that. He's still learning about different abilities and the extent of what he can do. And Omni-Man's really talking up like how special his race is and how important it is that a Viltrumite is sharing what they have with Earth and all the other and the rest of the planets and the different galaxies and everything like that. And like you kind of get that sort of this is Superman trying to share his Kryptonian technology with the Earth. It's not. It's coming. It's coming. So yeah, he's still doing that and everything. Nolan. So a little bit later, Nolan actually goes to. This was pretty weird. So Darkblood's got his own like little detective agency. He's got like. Did you ever watch Jessica Jones?
Yes.
Yes. He's
kind of like that, right? Yeah.
It's basically what Jessica Jones has. It's literally just an apartment where it says Darkblood Demon Detective on the door, and he walks in and he's just like, keep your nose out of my business, blah blah blah. And he tries to threaten a demon, and the demon's like, I can smell liars a mile away, and I know what you did and everything like that. I just need to have proof. That's all he needs. And then he's got him by the short hairs, which is pretty interesting. And that ends very quickly. So like the first half of the episode is literally just a bit of training and then some interaction with Darkblood. Then it starts to get a little bit more interesting. So you see the Mauler twin, also the single Mauler now at this point because the last one's died, and he's trying to build his clone tube, like his cloning vat and everything like that, which is really cool. So I'm guessing the comics is pretty accurate to this as well. So every time one dies, he just makes another one.
Yeah, they make another one, which is like why later on, I'm hoping maybe next season there's a few things that they'll do that'll like go further on these two because they're very interesting characters, and the who's the original, who's the clone thing is just hilarious. That. And yeah,
I love that so much. It's so good.
So good.
We see the actual clone being made and everything properly. This is just like he sets up the vat. He's building everything, and like one thing that was actually quite interesting. His skin is that thick that he actually needs to use like an industrial drill to like drill into his arm to get a blood sample. So he can actually start to rebuild himself and everything like that. Very interesting, like the depth that they went into it. It's not like he literally just plucks a hair and then like does it from that. It's like actually pretty in depth, which is pretty cool.
But I think they do that really well. It actually kind of gives you that like, oh shit, this guy's actually pretty tough. They just aren't that smart, but they kind of are. But you're not kind of sure they're like not street smart. It's
tricky.
It's
like
done very well. Yeah.
He's extremely good at cloning. Someone else wants to get in on that a little bit later. But yeah, he's not bright. He knows what he knows, and that's how he gets by. And it's like I said, brilliant character, so good. So we see that. That's about half of it, and then literally about 20 minutes into the episode, that's when it actually starts getting interesting. So Cecil is trying to get Omni-Man to escort this space mission to Mars. It's the first space mission to Mars and everything like that. And Omni-Man's like, nah, fuck off. I'm not doing that shit. That's nothing. Viltrumites have so much better to do. And and then Mark is like, I'll do it. He raises his hand. I'll do it. I'll help. There's a small interaction with his mum where it's like, but do I want to be the hero that Dad is, or do I want to be the hero that Cecil and the GDA want me to be? And she's like, you got to be the hero you want to be. So he's like, you know what? Yeah, fuck it. I'll do it. Goes to Amber and does the whole, I'm going away for a little bit. I don't know where. And he plays off like the whole, I'm an idiot teenager.
Yeah.
And he disappears and goes off and everything. So he goes with them, and the idea of it is Invincible needs to be like a ghost on this mission. They're not meant to know that he's there. So he helps them land and everything, and then he sort of runs off and he hides behind a crater, and he just pulls out his phone and he starts doing stuff on his phone. And then this whole time, they're building a kit of where they can stay, little house and everything like that, and blah, blah, blah. And eventually his phone dies, and then he turns around and he's like, maybe the astronauts have a charger. And he turns around and then all the astronauts are gone. Yeah, it's funny, man. Like, I like that because he's meant to be a ghost the whole time, so he just gets on his phone like any teenager, and then just scrolls through Facebook, and then his phone dies, and he's like, oh, now they need my attention.
I love his phone's still working though out
yeah, he still has signal on Mars. I'm like,
we're at like 8G out here. It's good.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. Think of the COVID they would have with 8G. Cool. Far out. That's a joke, everybody. That's a joke.
Yeah, I thought that was a great scene. It was like, how often do you just see like a superhero following normal people just to be like there just in case? And you're like, oh, kind of cool.
That's all he was.
Yep.
It reminds me of that meme where it's like Jason Momoa walking around with a bodyguard, but he looks like he's the bodyguard for his bodyguards. Like, oh man, it's so great. Good. So good. So yeah, this is when it finally starts to happen. So yeah, all the astronauts are gone, and so it turns out that the Martians. So there's actually Martians here as well, like DC. So with Justice League and everything, the Martians have actually taken them captive. And the whole thing is that they want to execute the whole team because there are these parasites called sequids, which is basically just squids, but with an extra E before quids. And it's like, so these sequids are able to take over life, but because the Martians are able to shift their body shape and everything like that, they can't latch onto them. But humans are perfect candidates.
They can't use them as hosts, correct? Yeah.
Correct, yeah. And you're like, oh shit. So the Martian Emperor is like, we got to execute them because we can't risk that going to Earth. Like, it's so bad here on Mars, but it's contained. We can't let it out. So he's trying to do the right thing. But Invincible's like, oh, see, I was tasked to make sure that they stay alive, so I kind of got to take them. Sorry. And then, yeah, he gets... It's a very quick scene. I feel like they rushed it a little bit too much. All of a sudden, they're standing in front of the Emperor, and then next minute, it kind of goes to like an ad break, and then comes back, and then they're all just running out of the Emperor, the Empire, sorry, and they're running back to the ship, and then Mark sort of gives them a helping hand where he like picks them up and throws them away and everything like that. Okay, what happens in the comic book? What happens in the comic book?
I'm trying to remember because I feel like it's actually pretty on par in the comics with this specific one. I'm trying to see when it happens because honestly, most of the stuff, it's not that different. They might elaborate more in the animation, or there might just be some like slight differences in the comic. But it's just like, when does it happen? That's the hard thing. But I never noticed it too. As you're watching the animation, eventually, as it keeps going, when they cut back, I didn't actually realize that one of the astronauts' shoulder pad changes. I know they do that in the comics as well, and I was like, oh, that's a cool little tidbit.
Yep. So basically what happens there is Mark does end up saving them all, but he doesn't actually realize that one of the humans has actually been replaced with one of the Martians. So there's like a very quick little glimpse where like his armor changes kind of thing. So it's actually that one of the sequids had actually taken over one of the humans, and then all of a sudden there's like a clip at the very end of the episode where it's literally just a swarm of sequids being controlled by this one like human host. It's kind of reminiscent of Starro, if anyone knows that from the DC universe. So Starro is literally a massive star. He's going to be featured in the Suicide Squad movie, the one with James Gunn.
Star as in like celebrity, or star as in like cosmic star?
Cosmic, like he's literally a massive starfish. With a massive eyeball in the center of it. Yep. So he can create mini Starros that can slap onto people's faces and then control them and everything like that. And that's basically what happens here. You just see a bunch of mini Starros, sequids. Fuck, that's an annoying name.
I never put the whole sequids and squids things together with the E till you said it.
It's literally just an E. There's an E between the S and the Q, and it's sequids or it's squids. It just sounds like a French guy. Sequids. Sequids. So he gets them all to Earth and everything. You see the sequids and everything like that. And then we end up going to so like that finishes. It's like, hooray, they came back. They went to Mars. Why'd they come back? We'll figure it out later. And then we cut to a scene where Cecil has actually lured Darkblood into the Pentagon, like their base and everything like that. And he's basically doing, Cecil is basically doing the whole, like, you know, I told you to keep your nose out of it, and I'm gonna have to basically punish you and this, that, and the other. And Darkblood's like, man, you got nothing on me. You know, you could have banished me if you didn't get rid of that scripture from, you know, hundreds of years ago. And then, of course, Cecil does, like, you know, big dick moment where he's like, oh, do you mean this scripture that I've had my team work on and make up? And he's like, oh, shit. And he does the whole, like, supernatural thing. He lays out the salt, and he's got the candles there, and then his, like, second in charge has got, like, this bell, and they start saying all the scripture and everything like that. So we basically learn there that Cecil does know that Nolan killed the Guardians of the Globe, but he doesn't know why he killed them,
Mm-hmm.
but also he doesn't know how to stop Nolan if he decides to keep going. And because of that, he's like, Darkblood, I need you to fuck off. I need to try and sort this out. I'm not going to be able to do it whilst you're doing your thing. So, sort of. I can't deal with that.
Which I kind of like. Finally, it's like, shit, we have essentially a unstoppable being, and we don't know how to stop him.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like, oh yeah, we actually have been figuring out he's actually got a kryptonite, which is, I don't know, some random dirt or like something like that. Then I'm like, no, we got no idea. We have things.
Yeah.
We might have things, you know, weapons and whatnot, but we actually don't know. And I'm like, that's pretty cool, because you can see he's actually scared of Omni-Man. I'm like, that's really cool to see.
It's like Cecil's character is very much like Nick Fury, where he's the director of the GDA, and he's got to think of everything. But there was a really interesting picture that I saw just on Facebook, and I did share it with you, Josh. Do you remember the whole Darkwing pretends to be Batman while Cecil is literally Batman?
Basically, yeah.
He's basically Batman. He needs to figure out how he's going to stop any threat possible. And you see that a lot more in depth in future episodes. Cecil's actually a really good character. I didn't like him at first. I thought he was a bit of a prick.
I thought he was a bit of a dick too, yeah.
Yeah. But he comes in, he's just like, nah, I'm doing this for the betterment of Earth. So it's like, all right, I like you. It's pretty cool. So Darkblood gets vanished, and you're like, oh, he was so close. He almost figured it out. Turns out that he actually left his little notepad at the Graysons, and Debbie finds it as well.
I like how she finds it too.
It's really cool.
Really cool, yeah.
So she basically walks into a wardrobe and that, and she was talking to Nolan as she's doing it, and then she realizes that she has the cold breath, and she's like, oh shit, Darkblood's here, holy crap. And I think you can hear murmuring of Darkblood as well. And really? Basically, I'm pretty sure you can hear it in the background. You can hear some murmuring from him. And you're like, oh, is Darkblood there? Did he survive and everything? But then it sort of zooms in closely, and in between like a couple of tops is his little notebook there and everything like that. And the notebook's really cool as well. I think the notebook is connected with Darkblood, because in one of the later episodes, the cover of it kind of looks like his face has been imprinted onto the diary, which is really cool. It's really, really sick. So she sees the notebook and everything. That's going to come into play, I believe, in the next episode as well. But that's not the last cliffhanger for it. We go back, and the Maulers are working. Sorry, the Mauler is working on the clone and everything like that. And basically, what happened is Robot ends up taking a DNA sample, a bit of blood from Rex, and amongst events of the episode. And at the very end of the episode, he's walking up to this vat, and it's got this really deformed. It would look like a worm.
Yeah, it reminded me of I don't know if you've ever seen the weird baby creature from Witcher 3. There's something that looks like that as well. But
I have not.
Like a deformed fetus,
That's literally the best explanation. It is a deformed fetus, and that's what it is. But you still don't know what that thing is. So in my notes here, it says what it is. But I kind of don't want to say it just yet. We know that Nolan killed the Guardians, but what about Robot? What's the deal with Robot? We're going to keep that a secret to everybody. And to those of you who did your homework and watched the series, you know who Robot is. But yeah, he basically takes the blood sample and he shows it off to this deformed fetus in a vat, and then black screen, and that's it. And we're like, oh, all right, I guess we got to wait another week to figure out what the fuck that thing is, and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, I really did like the second half of this episode. The first half is kind of a little bit dragged along. But they were kind of building up that relationship between Nolan and his son, and that comes into play a lot more in final episode. That really shines. And there, so the whole sequids, that has like a whole section in the comics as well.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Awesome. I'm super keen for that one. That one looks really
Mm-hmm.
cool. It just looks like you can't stop it because it's everywhere. It's that
Basically.
villain. It's that villain. It's Brainiac.
It's very interesting because I didn't realize they show it's one cell, so like one frame of a picture that they don't show till later on in the season. I'm like, oh, okay, but it's literally straight after they take off out to space. I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, I see what they did here. But a lot of the stuff they do elaborate on,
A lot
and
more.
I'm guessing they save some really cool stuff for season 2. Not to
Or
jump
season
ahead.
3. Or season 3. We got
or
2 more. We got 2 more seasons.
I hope they do like everything. I want them to. I'm not even finished this comic, and I'm like, oh yeah, I want them to do everything because not that saying too much stuff that's revealed in the last episode of the season. I just had a quick glance at what I haven't read is actually happening at the end of this book. So I'm like, oh okay, so they've brought forward some stuff, and there's just so many cool like little stories that happens with like a villain or someone that you meet that they're like, oh, here's what's happening with this person. They do some like quick origin stories on Monster Girl, Rexplode, and it's only like 2 pages. I think Rex only has 2 pages as well, but I'm like, that's really cool. They're kind of, I actually really like Monster Girl's origin story, which is something that I actually haven't heard before, but I haven't read many comics, so it's probably done before. But it's just very interesting because
it's a bootleg Incredible Hulk. I'm gonna spoil it for you now, Josh. It's a bootleg Incredible Hulk. That's all it is. It's just instead of gamma radiation, it's youth. There you go.
It's just it was nothing that I thought. I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. But seeing as that's only 4 episodes out of the 8, I'm like, the rest of this season is just, I remember from like here, I'm like, oh, shit's gonna happen. Shit's gonna get good. And then, oh boy, does it get good. It escalates to greatness.
So good. It gets so good. But yeah, that's pretty much all my notes. That's the first 4 episodes. That's all of that is just the first 4 episodes. Granted, these go for what, about 40, 45 minutes? They go for?
Yeah, about 45 minutes.
Yeah. So they go for a little bit longer. But like it's needed. Like they needed to put in the hard yards, character development, everything like that. I will ask you actually. I just had a thought. So this is of course written by Robert Kirkham, who ended up doing the Walking Dead series, the comics again, which the TV series is adapted by. Have you ever read those comics? Or looked into them or anything?
Like I said, I'm trying to remember. I genuinely don't think I've read any other comics except for this one. I've read like manga, which is it's the same, but it's not. When I was younger, I had some like manga, but I've never read any other comics about anything.
Like a straight up superhero comic, yeah.
Yeah, like I've just never read. I've always watched like all the movies and stuff, and just quickly Googled about stuff to learn about it. But I've never got into comics. That's why like getting into this, I'm like, man, I wish, because I know you have. I was like, I wish I did when I was younger, so then I just have all this like random knowledge about all the things that are happening. Yeah,
that's literally about 90% of my life, just having random knowledge about random comic book information that has no use or practicality in real life.
Yeah, but it's good. It's a use for me because I'm like, hey Jake, what's this, dude? And you're like, cool, we'll start at chapter 1, and then you go on for hey, I know now.
Basically, to everybody in the chat, basically every single time a new Marvel movie comes out, if Josh doesn't see it with me, or even if he does see it with me, at the end of the film, he either he turns straight to me or he messages me going, Jake, have you watched it? If not, let's talk about this. Why does this happen? Every single time. And it's something I probably look forward to the most after all the Marvel films, because you watch it and you're like, this was so good, I want to talk about it, and then you literally turn to me. It's like you knew I was waiting for it. And I remember as well, doing a throwback to Endgame as well. In Endgame, when it got to certain scenes, because Josh had already seen it, he did the whole, like, turn to me and watch for my reaction instead of rewatching it again. It was so good. It was so good.
Yeah, it's always good because, like, that's what kind of upsets me. I wish I read comics because all these characters that I'm just learning about now in movies have been around for, like, yonders. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, cool, I want to learn about them. But I can't be bothered to go read all the hundreds of comics that are out there. So you're like my human Wikipedia, which is just the best thing ever.
I can't say that I've read all of them. There's a large portion that I haven't read. There's a good amount that I do know. There's a very good amount that I do know. But it's forever expanding. That's the hardest part. Yeah, it's just interesting. But no, the reason why I ask if you've ever read The Walking Dead, I've watched majority of the series. I didn't watch all of it, but I feel like you can see Robert Kirkham's work sort of like connecting the two series. So like going from Invincible to Walking Dead, like you've got like those front of face villains right there, but then you've kind of got these characters behind where they subtle hint and they get brought to the front later in the series, and you're like, oh shit, why didn't I ever think that was going to happen? So it's got a lot of his works in there. Of course, different aspects. One of it's live action and one's an animated series. So it is.
But I can see what you're saying though. There are some characters that are like, oh, who are these people? Why are they here? They're such a small role. Then all of a sudden, it's 2 seasons later, and they're like the main character. Like, oh,
that's
okay,
it. Yeah. Like he gives all characters justice. That's what I do like about his series. I think it does a great job with that. But yeah, I think that's pretty much. I think we can leave that there. There's plenty more that we will talk about, but like Amazon, we're going to be talking about it next week. Because why not? That's what we do. So yeah, we got 4 more episodes to go. So episode 5, That Actually Hurt, which is, oh man, that's a banger of an episode. That's so good. Episode 6, You Look Kinda Dead. A little bit of a weaker episode, I will say, but it leads to a lot. It leads to a lot. Episode 7, Oh Boy. And then episode 8. Episode 8, I just want to point out, I've got like full page worth of information on several episodes. And for episode 8, it's just, it's the last episode of the season. And you learn the truth. That's all I've written down, and we'll expand on that one later. But the episode 7, the title of that, We Need to Talk. Man, that hits. That hits hard. That's so good. It's so good, man. And JK, okay, if you need one reason and one reason only to watch this series, J.K. Simmons does the voice of Omni-Man. That's it. That's all you need. And because a few episodes in, Josh told me that he was getting the compendium, and I said to him, every time that you read Omni-Man, it's going to be in J.K. Simmons' voice. And it is now, isn't it?
It is definitely 100% like that. Really good.
Yeah,
but I gotta read it like Omni-Man and less like he's trying to get pictures of Spider-Man. So it's a bit hard sometimes. Yeah.
It happens, man. It happens. Speaking of Spider-Man, we are still expecting a trailer for the new Spider-Man 3. Hopefully that's going to drop very soon. I'll probably be doing a reaction video to that as well. I'm going to try and refrain from watching it, so keep a lookout if you want to see that. You can do that. Wanted to add as well, I do want to talk about it later because the director is one of my all-time favorite actors, directors, and human beings, John Krasinski, and Josh has actually seen it as well. A Quiet Place Part 2. We both went to go see it, and it was phenomenal. It was great. And you said the exact same thing. Like, it was so good.
It was good to be back at the cinemas after like everything that's happened, and walk out and finally like watch a movie that was just. It was just great. In every way, it was just good. Yeah,
it gripped you. Like, it had you on the edge of your seat, which is what the first one did for me. And I was like, yeah, this is so good. So yeah, definitely it on par. Like, it didn't raise the bar, it didn't lower it. Like, you just, it's beautiful. Like, high standard all the way through. So I will hopefully be able to talk about that as well. And again, Josh, if you'd like to join me, thank you so much for joining me today as well.
My pleasure. Next time I'll study a bit.
Do your homework.
So give me more tidbits. The issue is if I study more, that means it's gonna need more than an hour to get through another 4 episodes. That's for sure.
We'll go 2 episodes next time, and then we'll make episode 8 like a whole episode. We'll just talk about everything that Nolan does.
Good
man. I love that he trained his son. I like that he trained his son. Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah, on the nose about that one. There you go. So thanks to everybody who watched. Thanks to everybody who will watch. Thanks to people in the comments. So Bears jumped in. Evie Trainer jumped in. Thank you so much. If anyone has jumped in and not said anything, still super appreciate you. Everything like that. Again, super thanks to Josh for jumping in with me. Josh, you said briefly before we started that you might be starting up your streaming again. Do you want to plug?
I mean, I guess it's PoshJosh77. I'm gonna hopefully try to start streaming Apex, and I've got a couple games that I haven't played in a while that I want to stream as well that are like old games. But yeah,
I love it.
thanks for anyone that stopped by. Make sure you also follow good old Jedi Jake.
No, don't do that because it's bad
Yeah,
content.
Go
on. No, yeah, go on. Follow us. Follow us as well. Because yeah, we're pretty much gonna do this a lot more often. I know I'm gonna have Josh in here a lot, but I'm hoping to be able to get a few more guests as well, because I do enjoy having someone to talk with rather than just talking a lot. Because it's I like my own voice. I don't know about everybody else.
I guess.
Yeah, it's not too bad. Yeah. You've gone very quiet, and my self-esteem has plummeted. But yeah, no. So yeah, thanks again to everybody that came in and watched. That's the first 4 episodes. I'll pretty much lock it in now. Next Sunday, we'll do the next 4 episodes as well. See how time permits. We went very much over. We went an hour and a half. Apologies to anyone who couldn't stick around, but it'll be on YouTube and that. Yeah, thank you so much. Keep a lookout for Josh. He's going to start doing some gaming streams. Yeah, keep a lookout for next week, and we'll cover episodes 5 to 8. And then hopefully we'll have a Spider-Man trailer as well. We can talk about that. Oh!
That'd be good.
I completely forgot. Wednesday. Loki! Loki starts on Wednesday.
Oh, really? No.
Yeah! Yeah! It starts on the 9th of June. Hells yes. Oh, so, yeah. There you go. Marvel fans have been waiting for something since Winter Soldier. Sorry, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, if anyone hasn't watched that. Yeah, to anyone who's been waiting for something Marvel, that is starting up on Wednesday. That's going to be weekly episodes. I think that's 7 episodes, 7 or 8 episodes. That looks so good. So happy about that.
Hour long, hopefully? Yeah.
Oh, I hope so. I hope so. Falcon and Winter Soldier was hours long, and that worked. It worked really well. And then we've got, in July, we've got Black Widow, finally! It's been a year since it was supposed to come out. We finally have Black Widow.
I was going to say, it's been a year since she dropped, and now she's dropping in the cinemas.
Hey! Because she fell to her death in Endgame. You gotta love it.
Spoilers.
Spoilers. If you haven't figured it out already, we talk spoilers on this chat.
We need like a spoiler warning flash.
See, the thing with that though, Josh, is you have to be good at all of the production, and I'm not good at that.
We can just do a trick that some other streamers I follow do. They raise their hand and they go, until we lower our hand, we're talking about spoilers. I'm like, that's pretty good.
That's a good one. I like that. Maybe I'll turn my hat a different way. So I'll be like, if the hat is backwards, it's spoiler time. Whoa! And then if the hat's forwards, we're talking what everyone knows.
Yeah.
I'll trial it. I mean, today I was meant to be looking at the camera for most of it, but I just kept on looking at the screen because I had to look at you.
I'm doing things, and then you're here. I'm like, oh, I didn't do my homework. I'm like, quick, look some things. It is what it is.
We got through it.
It's still good.
We got through it. Yeah, super big thanks to everybody that tuned in and tune in next week. And yeah, other than that, sayonara. Catch us later, guys. Have a wonderful week. Yes, actually, that's probably another thing. If you guys are super interested in Invincible and you can't wait for the next season to be coming out, the compendium for about $80, that's issues 1 to 47, I believe, of the comics. And that's like a third of the total.
I mean, yeah, look how thick it is. So
it's massive. It's massive.
Yeah.
So yeah, support the official stuff. Like that's the only reason why that's got made into a TV series. The original stuff got supported, and it was massive. So they were like, let's make a TV series out of it. And then J.K. Simmons was like, yeah, fuck it, I'll do it. He has a mustache. I'll do it. He was bored. He hasn't been doing Tenzin or anything else for a while, so he needed something to do. I love that man so much. All right, that's it. I promise, that's it, because we're going to talk forever and ever. Thank you so much to everybody. We're out of here. Thank you again, Josh. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Catch you in a week, guys. Make sure you do your homework and have a great week. And thanks for hanging out a week of Geek. Woo!